kitty cat time. It's my baby Teddy. Hi. Anyways, hello everyone. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, hello. My name is Holly, and this is my series that I'm doing called Talking Tarot, where we turn this more into a conversation, ask all the questions, we analyze each card. I'm really enjoying it so far. So if you're interested in these little tarot deep dives, hit one of those buttons down there and let's get right into it. We're here today to talk about the Knight of Cups. All right, well, bye. It was nice while it lasted. Last week we talked about the Knight of Pentacles, how he was more of a homely type, stable, like head down, hard at work. So the Knight of Cups is up to bat. As I mentioned before, all the knights have their own pace, right? They all do things in a different way. However, they are all kind of generalized under the umbrella of air, like the air element. They all share that quality of speed, the get up and go, the eager to action, especially more in the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords, but we do see them start to get faster, right? Like, so where the Knight of Pentacles was stationary, the Knight of Cups is finally moving at a trot. Less of a charge and more of like a just curious meandering. So who is the Knight of Cups? Let's paint a little picture, you know? But first, before we get into anything further, I do want to touch on the elemental and astrological correspondences of this card. We are in the element of water, of course, being cups. So water is typically associated with emotions, intuition, dreams, the subconscious. Also, I like to attribute the ease of flowing in and out, being adaptive in a sense to surroundings. Like, I find a lot of water signs that I know are really great at like just adapting to their new surroundings or challenges. That is a trait I want to give to the Knight of Cups as well. Okay, this card is ruled by the planet Neptune and also bears connection to the zodiac sign Pisces. Pisces is a very sensitive and intuitive and also highly introspective sign that lends its attributes to this card. Where the page aired on a more emotional immaturity kind of level, or being unsure footing, just beginning things, not finding your groove yet, right? The Knight has his groove. The Knight is starting. Like, if the page is the seed being planted or the idea being had, the Knight is the actual taking action to make that idea become real. Putting the pen to paper, if you will. The Knight of Cups has kind of grown up. He is the perfect gentleman. He is quite chivalrous, but still a hopeless romantic at heart. He's very, very much so like a dreamer, someone who's very like romantic, sees the world through like rose-colored lenses, and I think that's all very quaint and cute. That's a great quality to have, although it can get you into trouble sometimes, and we'll get into that later. But really quick, the four knights all exist in the element of air, each add their own elemental qualities to spur the action that air has initiated. Like, air is the gas in the tank. Their element is like, where's the car going? These cards are supercharged with energy and would really emphasize a message in a reading. And just as all court cards do, the knights represent people, a person, someone you might know, a significant other. It could be you. So Teach Me Tarot says they could also represent situations, atmospheres, advice, or messages, and, you know, based on the elemental energies of that particular night. So knights are known for being go-getters, eager to action, and we have some energetic connections to the chariot here, which I don't really see as a negative card. The main message of the chariot is speed, right? Like rushing, like cramming the night before a midterm. That's the energy. And we kind of see that when we see the knights charging towards something, especially with the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords. But Again, the Knight of Cups is at a slow trot. He is not charging. He is not like going full speed, jumping, cannonball into the cold water. He is dipping his toes in to feel it out first. He's very much so on the more cautious side of things. And with that, he is a little less action prone and a little bit more meditative. Like, we're still coming out of that steadfast phase of the Knight of Pentacles, where they each represent their own process. It shows like a level of like mastery as you get up through the ranks, right? Till you reach the King. These kind of have their own chronological order to them as well. If we want to describe the Knight of Cups as a person, I think this is a good resource to do so right here. Ganesha Speaks is a website I found this on, okay? They describe the Knight of Cups as gentleness, affection, and warmth are further qualities associated with the Knight of Cups. It can also indicate grace under duress or diplomacy. So you might find yourself functioning as a mediator in a dispute or a quarrel. If the Knight of Cups is depicting a person, he is a charming young adult who is emotional, loving, compassionate, kind, idealistic. He is chivalrous and warm and courteous and a skilled negotiator or peacemaker. So you might find yourself, again, being the one to mediate disputes or arguments or fights. You might be a middleman, a messenger owl of sorts for others. You might be just a complete pacifist and deciding to opt out altogether, which this is a great example of how the Page of Cups comes to grow and mature in this way, because I know it can take a big person to smile in the face of hate or violence or oppression. But this is a lesson that the Page has learned and is exhibiting now as the Knight. Kind of taking that with grace, like taking it in stride and being very mature about the situation, which is pretty admirable considering like we still view knights as somewhat youthful, but we can see here how he has wizened to the ways of the world a little bit. And when it comes to relationships, this card is a welcome sight. In a reading, this is an omen for love. When it comes to questions of health, money, career, a reader's spirituality even, this is all a welcome sight, and it's representative generally of good things to come. Since this knight is the most amicable of the four, he might also be a little too far with his head in the clouds. Again, he's a dreamer, but it can borderline delusional if you're not careful. So that could be a little bit of a shadow meaning in this card, but we'll discuss the shadows towards the end. So although he is all of these things, a complete sweetie, well-intentioned, good-hearted person, still prospective, but could be a little bit too suggestible. And by that I mean, maybe easily persuaded because they don't want to let anyone down. So they end up saying yes when they didn't want to initially. This could represent a weakness in the person who you're reading for, or the person who you're reading for is asking about. So this person is content to be a yes man, a people pleaser. It's really hard for them to say no. It's really hard for them to disappoint others around them. If those walls or boundaries aren't there, someone with less than good intentions is always around to swoop in when they see that opening or that vulnerability. So this leads me to vampires. How, you might ask? I want to talk about energy vampires. Not those ones, those ones. Sound off if you've ever seen What We Do in the Shadows. These energy vampires can fall into so many categories, and just bear with me for a second because I promise it correlates. According to Psychology Today, there are up to 5 different types of energy vampires that I want to include for you just for anecdotal purposes really quick. We have the narcissist, of course. We have the victim or martyr. We have the constant talker or compliment fisher or like attention seeker in that way. We have the controller, and we have the drama queen. So these traits are often unrecognized in the offender or highly denied by the offender. So like, we're on the topic of energy vampires. I've been caught up in this trap so many times with a couple people I thought were my friends. Typically, as soon as you start trying to cut them off, like you realize you're giving them way too much of your time, attention, resources, etc. As soon as you quit lending to them money, rides, whatever it is, they will start turning to threats. They will call you a bad friend. They will be highly emotionally, if not verbally, abusive or manipulative to you, just to keep you on the hook, just to keep you around and getting your help. Really quick, disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I am not a psychologist. I am not diagnosing anybody. I'm not trying to call anyone out. So please don't come after me in the comments. This is just from my own experience. This is my own opinion. Take it with a grain of salt. But people who habitually treat people like this may not be like inherently bad or evil. A part of me feels like it comes from some sort of like upbringing or misplaced like coping mechanism or even like an attachment disorder. I guess the moral of the story here is that this is a warning or a suggestion, if not a prompt in a reading, to set those boundaries. It's healthy to have boundaries, and it's kind of an act of self-care, honestly. And with these type of manipulative people, it really gets me thinking about like cult leaders and cult mentality. So what we see with people and figures like Jim Jones, Charles Manson, David Koresh, all of these people really smelled out the weaknesses of their followers and really just like found people who were in the lowest of the low in their lives, vulnerable, lonely, just looking for love, community, like connection. And you know, Charles Manson, Jim Jones provided that for these people. It was only after like time and years that the manipulation turns more and more extreme until these people find themselves in a situation that they never thought they would be in. I mean, cults don't always start off like how they end. It is a really sad thing to see that these people who are so vulnerable, just looking for love, are just being completely taken advantage of, viewed by these cult leaders as not even like worthy as a person. Manipulators do this. They gaslight you and they keep your self-worth down. So one last note I kind of want to make about this topic on the Knight of Cups is kind of how setting those boundaries can be not only an act of self-care, but an act of self-respect. And healthy boundaries are necessary, and a lot of people don't have them, myself included, for a long time. But it really is a determining factor of who you allow into your inner circle. So I guess the underlining message of everything I just went over is to not ignore red flags, number one. Set those boundaries, because that is the prompt of the shadow aspect of this card. And slow and steady wins the race. Stop and smell the roses every once in a while, because the Knight of Cups is really a lesson in that regard, to have a certain positive way and outlook on the world. Again, like smiling in the face of hate and taking all of this discourse with grace and maturity, ultimately. Hello everybody, welcome to the reading portion of the video. You might notice that my reading space is a little bit different. I swapped out the table for my beloved chest. I was using this before, but I thought I would try something new. Ended up not liking it, so here we are. I don't have that much surface area, but she's tried and true. I don't need that much. I am a minimalist at heart, so let's get into things. I already have a knight picked out. gonna do a couple shuffles and then we're gonna pull. Ooh. I love my jumpers. I do love this deck. It's just so colorful and gorgeous. Okay, we were lucky enough to draw a major arcana. So we already know about the Knight of Cups. We already went over things, but you see in the imagery here, he's depicted, or she rather, is standing with a unicorn, something fantastical and dreamlike. I really feel like pulled into the subconscious when I look at this, and dreams, and she's holding a bowl of water. It's pouring out. It's pouring into a bigger body of water. I don't know if you can see kind of a lake, the ocean perhaps, but it's representative again of giving, the outpouring of love and emotion, and like the giving of that to others. So here we have the Eight of Wands. This girl represents speed, precision, execution, of putting into practice what you preach, what you've been reading up on. It's time to, you know, put those things into action. We know already that knights are the spur of action, the call to action, if you will. So these two really go hand in hand very well together. And then we have the World. So the World is kind of, if I was to compare it to numerology, I would compare it to the number 10. It is completion. It is coming full circle and showing accomplishment, resolution. You know, it's showing that you've learned the lesson of the story, and the hero's journey is wrapping up, if you will. So the World to me represents like conclusiveness, conclusions, and it's the end of tarot. Like if tarot were numerically speaking and the Fool was the first card, this is the end. This is the last card in the deck. So yeah, the way I feel these all intertwine, I'm really feeling like it's telling you to slow down. If this card is about speed and precision and like excellence, like I want to say to add some flexibility there, to not rush to the finish line, if that makes sense. And in the rosy romantic way we were discussing the Knight of Cups, to not only slow down, but like take your time, like enjoy every step, because life is ultimately about the journey, not the destination. So 99% of your time is going to be spent doing this before you even get to this, if that makes sense. I'm going to scoop these guys up, and I want to do like one more, so just for shits and gigs, okay? I feel like they want to get out. We are seeing two more court cards joining us. We have the Knight of Wands here, who we have not covered yet, but he's up next week actually. So get a little sneak preview, I guess. And we have the King of Cups. So we got quite a lot going on here, it looks like. To me, the Six of Swords is kind of a control, either a lack of control you feel, or the need to control others or situations, or really the way she's got this snake on a leash is, to me, the need to have everything on puppet strings, if that makes sense. This is just like, I'm going with it, and I'm reading intuitively right now. I want to hear below what you would have to add to this particular spread, but the last one too. So if this was the you are here position, and this was what do you keep, what do you get rid of, and outcomes, I feel like you are here. What you need to keep is kind of your positivity, again, that sense of whimsy, that part of you that likes to indulge in your delusions. Well, not really delusions, but daydreams, and kind of exploring that imagination, that sense of fantasy in your subconscious, and being really in touch with your emotions, your intuition, again, your subconscious, your unconscious mind, and really kind of harnessing that. What we need to let go of, however, is, again, the sense of control here. The King of Cups really speaks to balance and a healthy power dynamic. So, and like, look, we have 2 cups going on here. We were talking about how the page and the knight, and it's a process, right? You end at the king being the maven, being the expert at the end of things. This kind of depicts like a shadow aspect though. Like if you dropped that need, that like impulse, that compulsion to always feel in control and always like be the one at the wheel, if you kind of learn to submit and like surrender to your shadows or your feelings, then you ultimately would be happier, because sometimes the King of Cups can represent like a toxic way that we feel about our emotions, or for instance like toxic masculinity about emotions. So there's kind of that energy harbored there. But again, I'm getting the feeling here that we need to surrender control. We need to have like balance and have like a more mutually fair dynamic happening where everyone's equals. We need equality across the board. The Knight of Wands is your ending position, your outcome, if you were to follow those steps. It's a sense of adventure, it really is. It's really like doing what you love. Being wands, being your passions, and those things that drive you, that get you out of bed every morning. It's really like just doing those things that make you happy. Not necessarily for a living or, you know, no pressure, but to really like nudge you and be like, hey, like, why aren't you painting? You love doing that. I don't know about you guys, but when I was like really into art and stuff, like sometimes it feels like you, like writer's block, you have like all this pressure to do it, and to do it good, and to do it right, and it kind of, the more pressure you put on yourself, it turns those things that you love into a chore, like, and this kind of urges you to rediscover that, rediscover why you like, you love doing that, and like why you fell for the thing, or like why you started doing it, and like, you know, like find your why again. Maybe like when you surrender your sense of control, you surrender to a healthy relationship with your own emotions and subconscious, and we're doing shadow work, and we're going to therapy, and we're doing all these good things for ourselves, and it puts you in a place now that you can really like fill up your own cup, like love yourself so that you can be a good lover in return. You know what I mean? To really have that self-discovery and focus on you. It really like gives you the room to kind of accept making mistakes, like not as a failure, but like as a part of a process. And when you drop that kind of compulsion to be a master at everything immediately when you start, I mean, logically, it never goes that way, right? We know that, but some of us perfectionists out there have a hard time. But anyways, so that was interesting. If you have anything to add or want me to clarify on right here, leave a comment below. Like this video if you got this far. I really appreciate you guys sticking around, but that's it for today. Next week, like I said, we're gonna be reading with the Knight of Wands. And until then, friends, take care. See you in the next one.